Conformity. The act of matching attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors to group norms. Norms are implicit, unsaid rules shared by a group of individuals that guide their interactions with others. This tendency to conform occurs in small groups and/or society as a whole, and may result from subtle, unconscious influences or direct and overt social pressure. Conformity can occur in the presence of others or when an individual is alone. For example, people tend to follow social norms when eating or watching television, even when alone. This is the story of a man named Keith and his struggle with conformity. Keith was off to visit his best friend Joe. They had a whole day of activities planned, and he had been looking forward to it all week. When he got to the house, Keith knocked on the door 3 times. But there was no answer. So he knocked again. Still no answer. In a rather rude impulse, Keith just decided to walk into the house uninvited. As Keith stood in the house, he couldn't help but feel absolutely alone. There was no indication as to where Joe went, so he went to look for clues. Keith decided to look into the microwave for some reason. No, he's not in there, Keith. Look again. He heard something downstairs. What could that noise be? And then he found him. What was this? Keith thought to himself. Was he unconscious? He attempted to wake him up. There was no response. Keith then looked at the TV. It was rather peculiar. There was nothing on. No signs of a working television program. Nothing. He was watching absolutely nothing. Feeling weirded out by all this, Keith decided to just leave and come back tomorrow. The plans could wait. The next day, Keith came to the door and knocked again. There was no response, go figure. And not even bothering to knock a second time, Keith waltzed right through the door. Almost unsurprisingly, Joe never left that spot, still watching the same white noise as before. Keith looked at his friend, and then at the TV, and then back to his friend, and then back to the TV. He couldn't fathom it. But this was just normal Joe, he thought. Surely it's just a phase. He really couldn't be thinking anything important of this. Having thought that, he decided to come back the next day. Keith walked through the front door as if he owned the place. Very concerned for his friend, Keith decided to sit with him for a while to keep him company. And after what seemed like hours of just sitting there, he decided to turn his attention to the TV. What could it be? What could be so utterly captivating to watch for days on end? He had to figure it out. So he began to watch. Minutes went by, then hours, then days. Had years gone by before he had realized that he was under this TV's spell? No, he was better than that. He had his curiosity sated, so he got up and left the apartment once again. The previous night, he couldn't get it out of his head. The brilliance of the whole thing, the white noise. He had never seen anything like it before. The tiny lines of flicker. He just had to see it one more time. Having made a key for the apartment, he just let himself in as if he owned the place. Promising to himself that he would only watch for a few moments, he sat down, ignoring his friend, and watched. This is a story of a man named Robbie. Having been on a camping trip for 3 days in the wilderness alone, he began to worry about his two friends that were supposed to be there with him. He walked up to the door to find that it was already open, and strange noises were coming from the inside. He cautiously crept down the stairs. A little faster now, please. He was shocked. Robbie's friends were there, almost in a zombie-like state. Why were they like this? What caused them to be this way? Ah, he thought to himself, they must be joking. What a bunch of knuckleheads, he thought. He laughed to himself until he noticed the TV. This was no joke, yet he could not make any sense of it at all. They were just sitting there, mindless, watching nothing. Absolutely nothing.